Hello, everyone. How are you? It's March the 1st. How the hell has that happened? How can we possibly be in the third month of 2024? And I've got something to share with you because this is a big thing in my life, but I've got everyone with pinch and a punch first of the month today. Because normally the kids, my husband, always get me, but today I was in control. And I think it had something to do with the fact that I was up at 5:30 this morning, ready for networking. So, anyway, it's raining in the UK. It's a bit dull. So we are going to brighten everybody's afternoon, wherever you are in the world, with my next guest, a guy I've known for a few years now. He's got an amazing backstory and he can talk about business, his story, and of course, PR as well. We've got to get that in there somewhere, haven't we? And what he's going to be up to the rest of this year. So please welcome my friend, Jamie McAnsh.
Hello! How
So
are you,
lovely.
Fiona?
I'm good. How are you? How are
I,
you?
I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm chilling out in my studio. So happy to be on the show. So lovely to hear your voice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Okay, set the scene, Jamie. Where are you in the world? Because this is a global show, so let's set the scene for people. Give them the context.
Let's be honest, it wouldn't be global if you weren't involved, right? So I am in not so sunny Cardiff in South Wales, in a small village just outside the capital called Whitchurch, and I'm at my office studio.
Wonderful. So that's the context today. Now, I've known you, and I always think loads of people know you, which they do. But let's assume nobody knows you at all who's watching this today.
Cool.
If you were to start with your story, Jamie, where would you start?
Oh wow, where would I start? I'd probably start back in school when I was trying to grown up and trying to figure out life. And my maths teacher told me the only numbers that I could ever make up were numbers in the dole queue. And my English teacher told me I had no concept of the English language. And every teacher who's ever educated me always said, "Your problem, McAnsh, is you speak too much." And now, sort of, I'm 42 years old. I've got a multi-award winning profile. I'm a published author. I run several businesses and I speak for a living. So I think that's probably where it would go. The journey along that road, 2014, I woke up paralyzed. Along that journey of learning how to walk and, kind of defining who I was and finding myself. I've broken several world records. I've competed for both Wales and GB level, as well as competed at masters level in squash as well as basketball and rugby. So yeah, I'm a massive advocate for sport and adventure. And I also broke a world record when I became the first person with complex regional pain syndrome to ever reach Everest Basecamp 1, which I did last year before, 2022. And this year we're looking to summit Kilimanjaro. So I'm now a massive advocate for disability adventure as well as disability sport. I think I got it all in there.
I think you've got a lot in there, but I'm going to rewind because I just know people are listening thinking, oh, want to know more about that. Oh, well, no. So, okay, that day you woke up in 2014, like describe that to us and how long did it take for you to find out what had actually happened?
Yeah. So I mean, I'll be honest with you, sometimes now it almost feels like someone else's life, right? But yeah, I remember like that day I woke up, I just couldn't feel my legs. I was in a lot of pain. I thought I had a trapped nerve, which, I think it can be excused to kind of understand that, considering I went to bed okay the night before. And then here I was. From that point to diagnosis of CRPS or complex regional pain syndrome was actually 13 months. And the thing is with CRPS, it's quite rare, but if you discover or can treat CRPS early enough, within the first 6 weeks, it can actually be turned around and reverted. However, obviously, it wasn't the case for me. It is a degenerative condition. And so, kind of learning everything that was kind of happening, what was going on with me. No one could really identify it at first. I went through lots of like tests and treatments and procedures to try and identify what had happened. And it was actually a doctor off the cuff who actually kind of went, I think I know what's wrong. And that was that kind of start of the diagnosis process. So yeah, 13 months of living, not knowing what was wrong with me, not knowing who I was, where I was going, massively affected me, hit my mental health in a massive way. I plummeted quite quickly down the rabbit hole. Eventually, I made an attempt of my own life, which was actually a bit of a turning point as well. So even though that was the catalyst, it was a bit of a turning point. And it was from there that I then discovered sport. And the irony is I'd broken my first record before I'd even been diagnosed with a condition. So that was nice. A nice little journey. But I remember when I got diagnosed, and I remember going, right, well, that makes sense now. So now I can live my life, right? And it was really a case of going, well, there's nothing I can do about it. It is where I am. It's what I'm doing. And I just basically picked myself up in a really weird way and got on with it. And that's where my motto comes from, get back up, is every stage of that journey from paralysis to kind of where I am now has all been stages of getting back up, trying again, getting back up, trying again, falling over, getting back up, trying again. And so, yeah, it's been an interesting 10 years.
I've met and interviewed a few people with chronic regional pain syndrome. So I'm going to try and tell you what I've been led to believe it is, and then you can correct me because I'm sure it's wrong. I've been led to believe it's something to do with it. It can start when you've actually had an injury or an operation where your brain tells you you're in pain, but it's not actually real. Is that right?
Yeah, it's almost like a phantom pain. There's two types. There's type 1 and type 2. One is caused by an injury, and the other one is caused by a virus. So mine was caused by a virus. I actually had shingles in 2013. And shingles retracted back to a main nerve track, and it just happened that mine happened to be the L2 nerve in my spine, which, like I said, is very rare. The condition itself if you put it into the pain spectrum, it's actually higher than amputation without anesthetic, and it's also higher than childbirth on the pain spectrum, and you live with that constantly. It's a constant pain managed only by treatment or pain management. And a lot of people, the majority of people actually that have CRPS genuinely tend to lose a limb within the first 4 to 5 years. So if you've kind of come over that stage, then you're in the lucky ones, really. But I think that there's a lot to be said for keeping fit, keeping healthy, making sure that you exercise. None of these are proven factors, but I certainly feel that they've had an impact on my journey, because I've constantly kept a positive attitude. I've constantly tried to stay fit and healthy, and I've constantly tried to be active. And I think that that's had a massive effect.
Now, you said earlier that you became quite depressed quite quickly, almost suicidal at one point, and then that was the point that made you think, no, I need to move forward with this. Just run through, because some of the things you did to make yourself positive, the extreme things, rather than, gratitude every day or positive mantras. You did some extreme things.
Yeah. So the first thing I did actually was went and found basketball. And what actually happened there was I found my first network, a group of people that wouldn't necessarily understand my condition, because no one does. And if anyone goes through CRPS, you'll have some level of empathy, but you won't know my journey and I won't know yours. And I think we need to remember that everyone is unique. And when it comes to disability, mental health, physical disability, that's very much the case. So, but for me, I set myself 12 extreme challenges in 2015 to really go out there and identify who I was. But I think probably one of the most fundamental things that I've ever done, which a lot of people, I get very mixed sort of views on, was in 2015, in January 2015, at the anniversary of my paralysis, I had a funeral, and I actually conducted a funeral for myself, for the able-bodied version of who I once was. And that was probably one of the biggest points in my life where I kind of went, I am now happy with who I'm going to be. And I had to let go of the past. I had to let go of the person I was never going to be again. And in the October 2014, just going back a couple of months, I actually was the second person ever to climb Penny Van in a wheelchair, and I was the first person to do it self-propelled. And I remember that day, I remember going, if I've just climbed the tallest, the highest mountain in the southern hemisphere of the UK on my own in a wheelchair, what else can I achieve? And I did that in 4.5 hours. Now, as an able-bodied person, I could do that in 45 minutes, but I'm never going to be that person again. And even to today, I'm never going to be able to do it in that time frame. So when I decided to let go of that version of myself and stop saying things like, when I was able, I could do that. Well, before I became disabled, I could do that. When there was a time I used to be able to do that. And when I stopped saying that and actually went, yeah, but I'm going to do that. And I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm going to go and do it. My mantra changed, my internal dialogue changed, my attitude changed. And that's how I kind of drove forward. And yeah, I took on some pretty extreme things. I went back and I climbed a mountain on my hands. I threw myself out of an airplane at 15,000 feet. I abseiled down the tallest lift tower in the world. I rode up the River Wye. I competed a hand cycle challenge from Cardiff to Tenby, which is 100 miles and I think it was the equivalent of 6,500 press ups. I did a whole array of things, including actually embarking on probably one of the most dangerous places on earth, which would, of course, be Birmingham Christmas Market. For those of you who've never been there, it is absolutely brutal. And then later on, there was climbing a mountain on crutches. There was climbing Snowdon on crutches in 6 foot of snow. Then it was climbing Ben Nevis on crutches in snow. And then later it was, of course, climbing Everest. So don't ask how I went from Penny Van to Everest. That was a bit of a journey in itself. But I had to learn how to do everything. I had to learn how to move my toes, how to move my legs, how to stand, how to balance, how to lean, how to, not fall over as much as I used to, and how to rely on a set of crutches, which I've never really done before. So, yeah, there was lots of learnings involved, but there was always that goal, that end goal of one day I'm going to get to Everest, one day I'm going to get Everest, one day I'm going to get Everest. And then I remember when I did, and it was like, wow, that's that done. And this was actually a fundamental lesson between the difference between setting yourself goals and having dreams. And, I've had a poster of Everest on my wall since I was 7, and that's always where I wanted to go. And this was a major setback in my life. But I remember when I got to base camp, and I remember getting there and going, well, what now? Where do I go now? I've achieved my lifelong dream, my lifelong goal. And then the next day, we got up at 4:00 in the morning. It was pitch black, and we summited another mountain called Kalapatar. And I remember sitting on a rock watching the sunrise. And if ever you want to be in pure darkness, go to the Himalayas, because it's pure black at the Himalayas. And as the sun was rising out the sky, blessed in front of me was a 3-dimensional vision of Everest as the sun was rising over the top of it. And I realized at that moment that actually that reaching Everest Basecamp wasn't the dream. The dream was sat on Kalapatar, looking at the location, taking the moment where that shot was taken, that poster on my wall since I was a kid. And that was when I realized the difference between dreams and goals, and that, we all have dreams, and dreams are where we want to be, who we want to be, the places we want to visit, the things we want to achieve. And goals are the stepping stones that you take in order to get there. And if I hadn't had set that dream of that poster on my wall, I would never have aimed for base camp. I would never have achieved that goal. And as a result, summiting Kalapatar the next day was the moment that I actually realized that now I just achieved my dream as well, which of course was that vision. So I've had a lot of life lessons along the way, Fiona, a lot of aha moments that have kind of triggered new dialogue inside my internal mind,
I'm not going to tell you then that I was really proud of myself for walking slowly up Penny Fan in 2.5 hours. I'm not going to tell you that. And
I think that should be celebrated, right? Because, like, bearing in mind, I mean, I'm no superhuman, right? I'm not a superhero. I'm skin and bone the same as everyone else, but I do have a very high level of determination, and I do have a lot of level of drive, and that shows in different people in different ways, right? And I think if for anybody who has got at Penny Van, I can tell you now that you've got further than anybody who's currently sat on the sofa watching EastEnders, you know, like, and so that is a level of proudness because, so for example, I'll give you to put into relativity of what you just said, right? So I play squash. I play squash at masters level, and I've got a world ranking of 3,071, right? And that's not a massive number, but when you put it out there, I'm still the only person ever with a low body impairment to have competed at masters level in squash, which means by default I'm world number one, right? But there's 25 million like registered squash players in the world, and I'm higher in ranking than 24 million of them. So sometimes and the way that I've got that ranking is not by winning. It's not by being first, because I can tell you now I've never won a game. But in squash, it's about turning up. It's about putting the effort in. It's about taking the shots, going for the points. And the more points in squash literally means prizes. So I like that, the fact when people say to me, oh my God, and I thought I was proud that I've achieved Penny Van. And I'm like, and you should be, because you turned up and you've taken the steps and you've gone that one step in front of another, and you've got higher than millions of other people, because there's many more people that haven't achieved it than never will. So be proud of yourself. Absolutely.
We've got a couple of nice little comments come through from our friends, Jamie. Hannah Edwards, Blumeneck, Jamie, I didn't know you'd done half of that stuff. And from Louise at Wellness Wiltshire, love that, she says, love that.
Oh, bless her. Thank you so much, ladies. And thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for listening and watching in, ladies. Okay, so we're gonna talk business now. Let's talk business. So Jamie, when did you start to realize that you wanted to be visible? Because you were doing all these things for personal, moving you forward after that horrible thing had happened to you and changed who you were. When did you think it would be of value to yourself and to others to be visible?
Well, do you know what, Fiona, I've never been asked that question in my life. So thank you for asking. So I won the Charles Holland Award. I became the 5th person in the UK ever to win the Charles Holland Award. And I won that back in 2016. And I actually, I picked it up 3 days before my father's, 3 days after my father's birthday. And he died in the April of that year. And so he was never there to kind of see that, which I've always been really gutted about. And because I think my dad would have been really proud of that moment, which I know my mum is. So then from that launched me into this motivational speaking kind of career that I had not prepared for. I did no idea about, and a lot of people don't realize this, but actually I'm quite shy and reserved. And even though out in the public, I'm like, here I am. But actually in my own space, I'm very much my own person. I'm very comfortable with my own company, and I'm very comfortable with my own silence. But when I was then put on stage in front of young people and schools and colleges, and they were reacting to what I had to say. And, I had young people coming up to me and going, I'm going to do that because I know I can now. And people that had like major conditions in their lives, major setbacks, who were then, when they were struggling, they would go, no, I need to do what Jamie does and I need to get back up. And I mean, that is enough. Like when a 9-year-old child who's got like severe autism and ADHD, and when he has his meltdowns, goes, it's okay, mummy, I'm going to do what Jamie does. I'm going to get back up. And you find out about that. That is a heart-wrenching moment. That is the moment that someone literally sticks their hand down your throat and pulls your heart out and holds it in front of you and says, that's what you've achieved. And I want more of that. And now, I mean, I'm 10 years into my life, still into that part of my journey, right? And I get messages on a daily basis of people saying, it was so lovely to hear you talk. I did this and I did it because of something you said, or I realized because you've done that, I can do it. So the more I realized very quickly that actually the more people that I can speak to and share my story with, the more impact that can have. And it is a drug. It is a drug. When people say to you, like, I'm so proud of the things that you've done and it's helped me and inspired me to do something better for myself, and you're making an impact on the world in such a positive way, it's an addiction, and it's a great addiction to have. So I think it was probably 2017 really when I kind of sat down and thought, I want to do this more. Then 2016, sorry, because then in 2017 I went through my divorce, then I went through cancer treatment, and then I went through bankruptcy, and I was very much set back. And then my mum obviously then got diagnosed with the brain tumor. So we were kind of going through this really weird journey through 2017 and into 2018. And I remember I moved back home with my mum just after my cancer diagnosis. And I wouldn't have done so if I had not got cancer. And 2 weeks after moving in, I found my mum collapsed on the living room floor. And I went and I was working on my mum, and I was on the phone to the ambulance, and my mum survived, and she's still with us now. She's 72 years old. She's as mad as a box of frogs. She walks 4 miles a day. She has 2 lattes, and she watches Vera pretty much every day. And that's her life, and she's incredibly happy with it. And I ring her every day, and that phone call makes an impact. And it's just these little experiences that you have through your life that makes an impact. And would I have been in my mum's house at the exact moment she collapsed if I'd not been diagnosed with cancer? Absolutely not. In which case she would have died on the floor. And would I have been able to take my mum through the neurological journey of having a 3.5-inch brain tumor removed if I didn't understand neurology and understand how it works? Probably not. But that made me the best person to support my mum. And so I travel that journey again tomorrow. But for me, it's that message of going, do you know what, actually, a lot of stuff's happened to me over the years. And out of the end of that, I'm the richest I've ever been. I'm the most successful I've ever been. I'm loved more than I've ever been loved before. I've got friends that have stuck by me through thick and thin, who have literally climbed to the top of the earth with me. And I'm very successful with that. I'm not financially successful, although I'm not broken either. As me and Charlotte always says, we still have cheese on our pasta. So it's those little things. And that's why I decided that I wanted to be the person I could, because I knew I had the gift and the power to be able to change the world. I just know I've got to do it one person at a time. And I'm very prepared and patient to do that. That's probably the longest drawn answer you'll ever have, Fiona.
It's all right. It's fine. And we've had a few more comments as a result. So I'm just going to read them to you. So Fee from Revolution Performing Arts. Jamie, this is so inspiring. I don't know how you do it. What do you say to yourself if you wake up feeling out of sorts sad? How do you shake yourself out of it to get on with your day?
That's brilliant. The truth of the matter is I don't. I respect myself. And I respect myself enough to understand that I'm having a bad day. So we have a thing in the office called Muddy Puddle Days. It's something that I kind of brought into the workplace. And it's when you're having a bad day, you're having a muddy puddle day, right? And the reason why it's called that is because it's difficult to walk through muddy puddles. But when you get through them, you're not finished. It's not over. You've still got mud on your wellies, and you've still got to trudge that off. And it takes a bit of time before that you're fully out of the mud. And that's life. And you get up in the morning and you're having a bad day, you had a rubbish night's sleep, or you had a great night's sleep and your neck decided that you didn't, so now you can't move. And all of this kind of stuff happens. And then you get an email from the bank to say that you're overdrawn, whatever the circumstances. We've all had these moments, right? We can do one or two things. You can either dwell on it and it will last a week, or you can go, today, I'm having a muddy puddle day. So what do I need to do to make my day better? Right, well, I need to have a cup of coffee, and I need to go and sit in a quiet space, and I just need to give myself some room. And you will find that muddy puddle day, when you have that internal dialogue with yourself to go, I'm just having a bad day, but it's okay, because it's going to get better. That internal dialogue changes the way that you think, and it's your outlook on life. And I've always said it, and actually I think it's written up by here. It's written here as this is very prudent to the question. It says, self-dialogue is our greatest asset, and yet if we spoke to someone else in the same way as we speak to ourselves, we'd be incarcerated. So when you're having a bad day, think about how you speak to yourself. Think about that dialogue that you are saying internally. I'm having a bad day, I'm rubbish, I'm this, I'm that. Well, that's not going to say get any better. But if you go, yeah, today started out a bit rubbish, but I can't wait until I go and have my baguette for lunch. Or do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have myself a custard slice, because that's going to make my day feel better. And you've got something to look forward to. Something else that I always do is celebrate the small wins. So we have the big wins, the big deals and all that. But this morning, for example, my little win was I had a biscotti croissant. I've never had a biscotti croissant before in my life. It was absolutely delicious, and I completely recommend it to the rest of the world. But that was my small win. And because when I finish work, that will be my small win, I'm not looking at the negatives, which means I'm always looking at the positive wins, always looking at the small wins, always looking at the positive wins. Not always easy, but it becomes a force of habit. So then you almost, because me and Charlotte has competitions now on who's had the best small win. So now you're looking for the small wins rather than looking for the bad days. You're looking for the small wins so that I can actually get a better small win than she has.
I love that. I just think there's a blog post, isn't there, in Muddy Puddle Days, which we can all heartily nick from you.
I've patented it.
A couple more comments. Danielle Holmes, who we know and love. Great interview. Thanks for your Jamie. And Chris, who's producing in the background here. You're very inspiring, Jamie. How do you deal with or advise those who suddenly feel like they shouldn't be struggling when they see how much you've battled through?
It's a good question. First off, massive shout out to Danielle. I absolutely adore that human being. But don't tell her I said that, right?
I won't tell her. Don't worry.
So sorry. What was the question again? How do I advise? How do I? What do I say to? Or how do I advise others who are find themselves in a difficult position? One of the things that I always say, right, and I think I answered this question actually when you said about Penny Van. It's about putting things into relativity. So many people look at me and they go, "Oh my God, like you've done that," and I feel bad now because I've got a sore back, or I feel bad because I get a migraine, or whatever the circumstance. But it's about relativity, right? So it's not about saying, "Oh well, if he can do, he's so much better," or he's so brave. I'm not brave. I'm not a superhero. I'm just me. And I've just learned these lessons along the way. I've just learned the lessons of understanding the relativity of the situation, right? So if I'm having a bad day, I just respect the fact I'm having a bad day. If I trap my finger in a car door, trust me, right? It is more painful than rupturing your spine. I guarantee it to you, right? So I respect that fact. And if my mind is in the same place, our brain and our mind is our greatest kind of tool. It's one of they say the human brain is the greatest of all brains on earth. I don't necessarily believe it, but that's what they say. But it gets damaged, it gets hurt, it gets injured just the same as everything else, and our feelings get hurt and our emotions get damaged, and we get confused, we get overwhelmed with stuff, and that's okay. The problem lies is when you allow that overwhelm to hit you day on day on day on day on day on. What I always say is, look, it's a muddy puddle, right? You're going through a muddy puddle. Just take it step by step. Simplify things. I'm a king of making things simple. Charlotte is the queen of making things complicated, right? So between the two of us, she makes things complicated when they need to be. I make things simple when they need to be. And the two of us, we somewhere down the line, we find an easy sort of central point. It is about making things simplistic. Stop hanging on the things that you can't control. Make positive changes to the things that you can control, and make sure you've got something in life to look forward to, even if it's a custard slice. It doesn't matter. Just aim towards that simple little thing that puts a smile on your face, and appreciate it at the time that it does it. And those things that don't put a smile on your face, that make you grumpy and frustrated, respect them. But once they're dealt with, put them in a box, because those things do not need to be dragged around with you. There's a saying that I live by, that no one will force you to be tomorrow who you are today. You have the opportunity to go, do you know what? That's done and dusted now. I'm not going to dwell on it. I'm just going to leave it be and move on to the next thing. And I think if we can all do that, we would all live a better life. But it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do. And I am certainly not a professional at doing that either. So that would probably be my advice, is don't try to be someone else.
That resonates in the world of PR, because what tends to happen, I find, when I'm talking to people I don't know, is that they'll say things that, but I haven't got much of a story. People have got much more dramatic stories than me. Like, one story is better than another story, or one piece of trauma is less traumatic than another piece of trauma. You must get that as well, Jamie.
All the time. And I just say, yeah, but that's true. But like, okay, so you take my story, for example, right? If I go, oh yeah, I woke up paralyzed one day, and then I had cancer, my mum had a tumor, I had this, then I did that, then this happened, then this happened, this happened. There's 90% of the world are just going to go, I can't relate to that. But if I said to me, okay, so I woke up paralyzed one day, and this is where I was, and I didn't have any support, and I didn't know who to turn to, and I felt I was imprisoned in my own home. I felt isolated. I felt locked down. I couldn't go and see my friends. I couldn't go and see my family. For many of you, you would call that 2020. So now all of a sudden you can relate to my circumstances because, yeah, okay, you didn't wake up, you couldn't feel your legs, but every single one of us knows what it's like to wake up paralyzed, even if it is paralyzed from the world around us. So it's about understanding of the interaction and the connection between what my story is and what other people's story is. And I'm very good at going, yeah, but I can kind of relate to that because I can engage with what you're saying because I kind of get it. But I can't understand childbirth. I've never had a child. I can't understand fatherhood. I've never been a father. But I did wake up one day and find myself in a man pram. And I did have to then go and find a car that was big enough to hold a wheelchair. And I did have to go and carry spare clothes just in case I had, an accident. Okay. All the same things that a mother and father have to do when they have a child. It's just happening to you. So there you go. If you can't relate to that level of extremity, you can't really do anything. So I always try and say, people say this to me, oh yeah, my story is not dramatic. I'm like, yeah, but your story will resonate with someone, possibly more commonly than my story will. It's just I'm very good at putting it into relativity to someone else's life. That's the only thing that makes me different to anybody else. But everybody's story has a resonance, whether it be an abusive relationship, whether it be alcohol abuse, whether it be drug abuse, whether it be, losing a leg or losing a finger. It really doesn't matter. Your story will relate to someone out there who will have gone through it with you. And if you've empowered that, that will give value to them. So I'm a massive believer in sharing stories.
And Jamie, you've known me for a while now. When someone asks you, how important is PR for you?
Do you know what, Fee? You've been an absolute pinnacle point for me. Really, you really have. I believe in PR. I believe in good PR and bad PR. I believe there's no such thing as negative PR. It's how you manage it. But you need to have a plan. You can't just go out there and pebble dash. You need to have some sort of plan on how you kind of work with that. And now for example, last year I did 81 talks over 61 contracts around the world, right? And I didn't do any advertisement. I relied solely on the PR things that I was involved with. I got myself on as many podcasts as I could get myself onto. I was on any YouTube videos that anyone wants to put me on. I was in the paper when and if those moments came around and I had a story that I could produce. I took every piece of advice that was given to me at the time and I used it to the best of my ability. But I never did any advertisement. I only did PR. And because with PR, people buy into who you are. You've got to be authentic, because if you're not authentic, then people will see straight through it, because you can't lie for that level of period of time. So you have to be authentic. You have to take the advice. I mean, Fee, look, we've shared a video of a piece of advice that you gave me a long time ago. And it was when we were talking about PR, and I said, Fiona, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I haven't got a clue. I'm terrified of saying the wrong thing. I'm terrified of doing something stupid. I'm not very well known for being diplomatic. What do I do? And you said these words to me. You said, Jamie, don't worry about what you are happy to talk about or happy to do. Concentrate on what you're not willing to talk about and not willing to do, and then don't do it. Everything else becomes easy. And I've always lived by that policy. So when people say to me like, oh, will you come on the show? I'll go, yeah, sure, I'll come on the show. And even if I know it's only going to get 2 or 3 downloads or 2 or 3 views, I'll do it anyway. Because what happens is someone types my name into Google, and because my name is so popular, I'm the first 50 pages of Google. And when you go down the list, there's podcasts that I've been a star on, or a guest on, I should say, for better choice, better words. And they've only had 15 views, but it doesn't matter because it's there. So when people are searching for me, they go, Christ, this guy's done a lot of stuff. It's all PR, and it's all little bits of positive PR make up the bigger picture. And I think a lot of people, when they're starting out, they forget that. And I've done talks for, 60 quid, and I've had great results from those talks. I've done talks at 3.5 grand, and I've had great results from that talk. And, that's kind of where I sit. So PR incredibly important. But it's also knowing what you want to do. And if you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it.
And the other thing I've noticed about you, Jamie, you've already expressed it. You don't get hung up on whether something's local, regional, national, small or big. You just see all of them as an opportunity. And for someone like me, that's a PR dream, because one of the worst things for me is when someone comes to me and says, getting local press is really, really easy. I just want national coverage. And frankly, now I don't work with anybody who starts with that kind of mantra, because any opportunity should be taken, in my view.
Absolutely, because it all adds, it's going back to that bigger picture. It all adds up to the bigger picture. And I think a lot of people, when they're breaking into the kind of the public eye, they forget that, and they think that it's an X Factor story, and it's not, right? And I wrote a blog recently about the overnight success that took 10 years. You know, it's about the little things. It's about standing up in front of a school and they put you into their school magazine, and that school magazine ends up on on some paper somewhere, or on the internet, or on their website, and all of a sudden your name is getting out there. And it really doesn't matter whether it's the local rag, whether it's the national press, whether it's the international news. It really doesn't matter. The international news is actually probably not the place you want to be first off anyway, because you'll just get swallowed up with all the other international news. So what actually happens is you just kind of get lost in the ethos of all the international news, where actually, if you're in the small local rags, more people will search for you, more people will find you, because you are local to them and they can relate to that. So they can go, oh yeah, that guy from Cwmbran. Most people in the world don't even know where Cwmbran is, except for the people in Cwmbran. So if you're in the Cwmbran paper, in the local Torfaen Voice, or whatever it's called, then people are recognizing you because they know who you are, and so they're searching you more. And that will then raise you up into that SEO place on the big World Wide Web quicker, actually, than someone reading about you in New York who never heard of you and doesn't even care who you are. And I've been in newspapers in Russia, you know. So I've been, when the Everest thing was happening, Christ, I was in the newspaper all over the world. You would have thought someone in Russia would have something more interesting to read about than me climbing Everest, mind you. But it was over there, and that's what was going on. So, but did I get hung up in that? Did I get kind of pulled into that sort of, thing? No, I just went and did my climb up Everest, and great. I was in the South Wales Argus as well. That was brilliant. It meant my mum could read that. Brilliant. What more could a guy ask for, right?
Give us a flavour then, Jamie, of what 2024 is going to hold for you.
So 2024, what is it going to hold for me? Well, Kilimanjaro is definitely happening. I think I can announce it now. I was approached by an organization to become the head of inclusion worldwide for Champions UK PLC. So that's kind of really happening. The talk stuff's still full on, and it's growing every day. And I'm loving this opportunity now to become really working in the world of inclusion. As many of you will know, we recently sold Sino Bounds, which is our global network. And the reason why we had to let that go is because we had to allow that to kind of move on, so that we can better develop the other stuff that we're working on. And this making a change through the inclusion work that I'm really keen to do is my way of kind of giving back to a world that's given me so much, and being able to work with some really big organizations and making positive change happen amongst those organizations. So I'm really excited about that role, and it's a great opportunity for me as well. And it's also, I think it's a great recognition for all the stuff that I've done, over the last decade. Kilimanjaro, I'm absolutely looking forward to going for summit of that. And then, be honest with you, I don't really plan much more above that. Stuff tends to just happen, and I just kind of jump on it and ride with it. And if I'm free, I'll do it. If I'm not, I'll rearrange. That's pretty much how I do things. So yeah, it's going to be a good year. I've got good positive vibes around 2024. I'm looking forward to a little bit of a slower pace than I was in the last couple of years. Certainly working in the networking world, I'm going to enjoy that slower pace now, where I can actually concentrate on doing the things that I really, really love doing. And And I always said it when I had Sino Bounds, I never set out to set up a network. I set up to build a community. And that's exactly what I've done. And in 2024, I want to embrace that community and move that community going forward and widen that community to get more people thinking about inclusion, more people talking about, inclusion and the benefits of having people around you that has a wide range of culture and disability and ethnicity and all of those kind of things in one place. I'm really excited to kind of drive my vision on inclusion going forward, definitely.
And congratulations on that role, Julie. Julie, where did that come from? Congratulations.
I'm a Julie from tomorrow.
I haven't even spoken to a Julie today, so I don't know where that came from. Congratulations on that. And you do, of course, realise that with Champions support, that is a story you should be putting out there soon.
I know. So, but trust me, it will be going out there. The
Cool.
joys of being involved with one of the UK's leading marketing companies. I can guarantee it'll be out there at some point. So I won't have to do too much with that, but it'll definitely be out there. People will know more about it. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. And when is Kilimanjaro then? When's that climb, Jamie?
5 months. August.
5 months' time?
Yeah. So I started actually on my father's birthday. So I'm quite looking forward to that as well. So yeah, 5 months' time. Terrifying.
Yeah, you are totally bonkers. There's a comment from Lauren, my stepdaughter, saying, love that with the small wins will certainly help in our household. So thank you, Jamie.
Bless you. And this is Lauren, and she is tiny. So she is literally a walking, talking small win. It's only about this big.
Look, Jamie, I think that it might be, with your permission, if you could come back in 2025 and reflect on these things and all those things that came along that you couldn't predict, and how I'd really love to have you back. Is that okay?
Fiona, I would literally belly crawl across hot coals for you, my love. You know that. So anytime you want me, you just give me a call, my dear.
Brilliant. So if anyone wanted to find out about you, where could they find you?
Oh, well, okay. So look, this is my name. No, that's my name. Google me and you'll find me. I would share my email address, but that's about to change. My telephone number is all over my website. So just, if you want to get in touch with me, through the socials, LinkedIn, I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, just type that name in. You can't miss me. And look, connect, ask me questions. I'm a very much an open book, right? My life was saved because someone gave me time. And if I can give that to you guys, I'm more than happy to do so. So yeah, just search for me and I'll be there to help.
Brilliant. Thanks, Jamie. And thanks for sharing what PR is like in the real world, or what it should be, which is more of what I want more of my guests to do, to make PR accessible to everyone and not to be scared of it. But
it is accessible though, Fiona, and that's the point, right?
Yeah, I know.
It really is accessible. We just don't realize it. Everything we do is some level of PR. But you've got to embrace it. You've really got to embrace it. And if you don't, then you're going to be left behind. And if you don't know what you're doing, then that's why people are like you exist, Fiona, to help people who have no idea of what they're doing. That's where you come in, and that's why people should get involved with you.
Oh, thanks, Jamie. That's right. I can train people. I can do it for them if they got the money. But that's enough of that. Thank you so much, Jamie. Thank you, everyone who's watching. Really enjoyed speaking to Jamie today. Please come and join me in April. We'll have another fantastic guest for you. And that's it for now. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon. Thank you.